You are listening to our rapid call on Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast for our self love challenge. We're talking all about the real lessons learned and how fellow educators have applied what they've learned into this challenge into their lives. Let's go. Welcome to the Self Love Challenge series on Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast. I'm your host, Kelsey Sorensen, a former teacher, current homeschool mom, and a certified life coach. Whether you teach in a traditional classroom or from your kitchen table, I'm here to help you not only survive, but thrive as an educator. Let's go on a self-love journey over these next 14 days so you can pour some of that same love you give to your kids, your families, your communities, to somebody who deserves it just as much, yourself. To get started with the free self-love challenge, I recommend starting from the first episode and listening through each day. But to get the full challenge experience, go to wifeteachermommy.com/self-love-challenge to register for free to get the scorecard to track your progress, a daily email with the link to your audio coaching lesson, and your journal prompt. It is free, and registering will get you more support with the challenge. Now let's get to today's coaching lesson. It is a special episode today because I'm here in the studio with some really good friends, and it is going to be a great time because their questions, their suggestions, their comments, and their words of inspiration and participation are really going to help shape this episode so you can hear not only what I have to offer, but what you all have to offer each other and how others have transformed their life with the tools that they've learned from the Self Love Challenge. So I'm really excited for this episode. So I'm going to do a quick intro about myself since we are doing this live, and I realized I haven't done an intro of myself in a while on the podcast. So I might as well do this for newer listeners and for those who just listened to this full challenge. They're like, who is this girl? So really quick, my name is Kelsey Sorensen. I am a former teacher and substitute teacher, and now I am a homeschool mom to three kids who are 4, 7, and 9. I created Wife Teacher Mommy in 2014 after having my first child. And I did teachers pay teachers while subbing and then created sub plans so I'd have them when I went to schools and to help other teachers. Over time, I went on my own personal development journey after hitting a major breaking point after I had my third child. When I was in the emergency room 5 days after I had my third child, I had a panic attack that I thought was a heart attack. And basically, it terrified me, but also reminded me that I don't think I'd ever been at the baseline I wanted to be. I've always been a worrier. In fact, as I've been writing about this in my book, when I was growing up, every time in elementary school, I would learn about something. Like, for example, I live in Utah and we'd have a unit about volcanoes. And instantly I'd be convinced that one of the mountains over there is actually a volcano and it was going to erupt any minute. And as much as my mom would assure me, no, that's not going to happen. We don't have volcanoes in Utah. Again, I just worried about absolutely everything. And it was a label that I put on myself. Like, I am a worrier. I am a person who worries all the time. I have anxiety. It was like an unchangeable trait about myself. Then when I had that postpartum anxiety, and had that panic attack, it was when I realized, okay, this is just like what happens when this is something I continue doing over time. And I got on therapy, I got medication, and realized that those were helping me get to a baseline, but I still wanted more. I still wanted to figure out, how do I make my life even better? And that is when I found my first life coach, and she taught me the self coaching model that we've talked about on this podcast about how it's not our circumstances that create our feelings. It is our thoughts that drive our feelings, create our actions and our results. And that, along with all the other tools that she taught me, such as regulating our nervous system, processing our emotions, and all of that together, helped me to create a life and basically just have the feelings other than anxiety, right? I was able to enjoy my life a lot more. And I devoured every podcast and every self help book I could get my hands on. And that is when I decided to start our Educate and Rejuvenate events and certify as a life coach. And we added coaching to the club. It started with another coach I hired named Chrissy, who is amazing. But then I decided to get my own certification too, so we could all work together to help our community in Wife Teacher Mommy. I'm also writing a book with Teacher Goals, the Teacher Goals Publishing. It is called Educate and Rejuvenate, and my manuscript is actually due on Leaf Day, February 29th. And that is what I've been my main project right now. I've even told my team, I'm like, I am focused on my book right now. You all can do whatever you need to do. That's why I'm like, oh yeah, what are the prizes? Because I've been spending like last night, I told my team, like, oh yeah, I was writing till about 1 a.m. finishing this manuscript just because really in the groove, really trying to get it just right. And it's been a lot of fun. So I'm excited to share more about that with you in the coming year. So many good things are coming this year, actually. We're going to be changing some things around here soon in a really good way. Those of you who've been part of the community are going to get to see the full trajectory of all the things we're doing. We've already done some fun things, such as bringing more incredible coaches to our program. And we're going to be changing up our Educate Rejuvenate events. We're not going to just have a big summer one, but we're going to make our small winter one into a bigger event. And just some more really fun updates that'll be here soon. So I can't wait to share. So I also love to engage with you too. So if you didn't know, we have a weekly discussion thread in our Facebook group, Wife Teacher Mommies Unite, where we can discuss the podcast. We have that not even just during this. Oh, wow. I just hit my board there. I will redo that part. We don't only have that during our self-love challenge. We have it all the time. So you can connect with each other. So we can talk about what is going on the podcast. So if you're wanting to continue the self-love even after this challenge is over, make sure you just keep tuning into the podcast each week and joining the discussion thread. We love to learn from and connect with each other. Okay, so the goal for today's episode is to do two things. So number one, I want to teach you the 3-step framework that I've been honing in really closely the last few months as I've been working on my manuscript. And this is what all the parts of the self-love challenge really fit perfectly into. And utilizing this framework, as I've taught from the challenge, is an act of self-love. So you're going to want to learn this framework and continue to apply it in your life, even after the challenge is over. And then the second thing is I really want to share some of your experiences from this challenge. So as we're going through, I would love for you to pop in the comments what your experience has been, what you've learned, what questions you have that I could answer live. If you have a question, chances other people have it too. We won't have time for super long form coaching like we do on our member coaching calls where I bring people on and we really talk over specific issues because this is a podcast. But I would love to have people raise their hand and come on camera and share in their voice their experience because that is even more powerful than just me reading it off in the chat. But if that's what we get, that's fine too. I really believe whatever happens in this room tonight is going to be what is meant to happen. And I just love how we can all realize that we can not only be just educators, but we can rejuvenate ourselves on a soul level and love ourselves too. We don't have to choose between loving our students, loving our partners, loving everybody else around us, and loving ourselves. In fact, it's through loving ourselves that we're able to do all of these other things so much better. Whoever is willing, I'd love you to share a takeaway, a moment, read your self-love affirmation. That was from day 12. We had create an affirmation of self-love. I'd love to share some of those here. Whoever is willing, would love if you raise your hand. You could do that now. I won't bring you on yet, but if you know you want to, go ahead and just raise your hand so I will know that you're willing to come on. And otherwise, just put it in the chat too. I would love to read it off. Okay, so before we do that, let's go through the 3-step framework. And the reason I created this framework is because I realized that we do a lot of different things here on the podcast. We have a lot of different tools. I teach the self-coaching model. I teach how to process feelings. I teach how to regulate our nervous system. I teach like even just little things like having a minimum baseline to not try to set such high expectations of yourself and things like that. And it can be a lot when it's like all these different random things that you can do. It's like, oh, there's mindset work and there's like processing our feelings and there's, oh, am I regulated? Am I dysregulated? All of that. And I wanted to simplify and figure out how to fit all of it under an umbrella of what is it we're actually doing with all these things. That was the question I asked. Where is it we're going? What is it we want to do? And that is when I created the 3-step framework. And I want to make sure that you have the direction so you know how to apply each of these tools because each of them can be used in different ways. For example, the self-coaching model, you might use it to bring awareness of your thoughts and how they're driving your feelings, actions, and results. You might also use it to try to choose a new thought to be like, what is it I want to think? What will that thought make me feel? How will that make me act to predict and guess? You can also use it to create goals. There are different ways to utilize each tool. So it's not just about the tools, it's about how we utilize them. And that is what this framework is for. So you can really understand how to utilize the tools that I teach here on the podcast, that I teach inside Wife Teacher Mommy Club. Writing this book and getting it all down I was going to say on paper, but really on the screen with typing. Although some of it I actually have written on my Kindle Scribe and then sent it to my computer. But it's really allowed me to dive deep into what I'm doing here, what the mission is of this company, what it's going to look like in the next year, 5, 10 years, and so on. So that is what this framework is for and how I want to continue to support you, all of you here on the podcast for the next all that time. So the 3 steps are to first observe yourself, second, to choose your direction, and third, to align yourself. So I want to talk a little bit about each of these 3 things. So the first one is observing ourselves. We did this a lot on the podcast. In fact, I would say observing ourselves is about 80% of the work we do in coaching, because even as we add on choosing your own direction and aligning yourself, we're still observing. It's not really like you move on from one step, it's just you add it on. It's like when you ride a bike and you're first focusing on how to pedal, you're really focusing on it. You have your training wheels because you're not focused on it yet. But when you remove the training wheels, you're still pedaling, right? You're now just more focused on the balance. So that's kind of what we're doing here. We're adding these steps on top of each other with this framework. So we start with observing. This is when we learn to go from subconsciously going about our being driven by our thoughts and our feelings and not understanding what they're doing, not understanding what's going on. It's just all subconscious. It is getting to that conscious level. It is noticing, oh, this is what I'm thinking right now. This is what I'm feeling right now. This is what my self talk looks like. This is what I like, how my self worth is right now. If I were to rate that, this is how much I feel like I'm loving myself. That is the first step of this framework, to gain a strength in self awareness. That is really just being aware of ourselves, being aware of what's going on internally in our body and in our mind. Both of these are important. Metacognition, which is thinking about your thinking. It's you think about your thinking. That's why it's metacognition, right? Cognition is like in the brain. So when we think about our thinking, that's when we're able to actually understand our thinking patterns, understand our beliefs, which are thoughts we've been thinking over and over, and that frame the way we perceive everything else in our lives. And we can really gain deep awareness of that the longer that we practice observing ourselves. And the final one is mindfulness, like really being mindful of the sensations going on in our bodies, the feelings, the sensations, everything else going on, taking that moment to breathe, to meditate, to process emotions and feel them going through. We talked a lot about all of these in the whole first half of the self-love challenge, was really about observing yourself. And then we continued building on that. Now, the next step is to choose our own direction. This is when we take what we learned from our observations and consciously choose what we want to keep and what we want to let go of. We'll become crystal clear on what our desires are, not what other people want for us. We have to actually get really clear on what we've been letting other people choose on our behalf and what we've been trained to think and feel and believe, how that's been impacting us versus what we actually internally truly want for ourselves. So that is part of choosing our direction. Become conscious of our thoughts and processing our feelings. We'll keep doing that because that's going to be really important as these things come up. Because as you're getting really introspective about what you really want, thoughts and feelings are going to pop up about that. You might be like, oh, wow, like I've been people pleasing so much. And as you realize like the things you might have to change with people pleasing, like, setting boundaries or whatever it is, you're going to have to do some mindset work over that. You're going to need to process it. So that is still part of choosing your direction, but you might set boundaries. You might come up with all these things that are going to help you get to the direction that you want to go. And then the third step is to align yourself. So we choose our direction, right? And then choose, like, even in the book I'm writing, like observing yourself is like the longest. Choose your direction is like a few chapters. And then align yourself is a little bit longer because again, we're adding on, right? We're still choosing once we're aligning because we're going to keep making little decisions to making sure we're headed the right direction. So if you think about what alignment is it's making sure that you're headed in the direction you want to go, right? So you're going along, you wanted to do, like, let's say you chose that you wanted to leave school by a certain time. Like, I'm going to leave by 4:30 every day. When you're aligning, like that choice doesn't take that long to make, right? But it's aligning yourself. But you're like, okay, am I on the right track? Am I doing this? No, why? What could I change? Or, oh, is that realistic? Should it actually be 5 o'clock? Or you can make little changes, little tweaks to make sure you're headed the direction that you want to go. That is what aligning ourselves is. We want to stick to our long term goals and intentions. This is where we also create strategies for increasing our comeback rate because we aren't going to do everything perfectly all the time. This is where we talked about creating our intentional schedule so we can map out each week. So choosing our direction, we might, create our ideal week, right? That's like we're choosing. And then when we're aligning, we're continuing to get out that ideal week and actually using it and creating an intentional schedule each week. So that's the difference between choosing our direction and aligning ourselves with that direction. And then when we get off track, we'll continue to reassess our choices. We'll notice what's going right too, and celebrate our wins and our progress. So that is the 3-step framework. Observe yourself, choose your direction, and align yourself. As you continue to do these 3 things after this challenge is over, you'll be able to continue seeing progress. You will see your self-love increase. And so I would love to hear how it goes for all of you as you continue to do these things. Now, you've been doing it though over these last 2 weeks during the self love challenge. And I'm excited to hear how it's been going for some of you. I already see in the comments with those who are live in the studio with me right now saying some incredible things that they've been doing. So let's see. Kimberly said, when she stepped out of her comfort zone, way out. Kimberly, that is amazing. I'm so excited that you stepped out of your comfort zone. She said, I was able to neutralize my inner mean girl. She is a circumstance. She doesn't have power over me. Yes, Kimberly, I love that. I love that. Our inner mean girl, the mean self-talk we have about ourselves, right? That is not who we are. And I love how you actually named that your inner mean girl. It's not you. You actually named it something else. That is really powerful. Love that, Kimberly. Okay, so Gloria Phillips says, my affirmation, love your life. Love and share myself with my special activities, just me doing me things. Gloria, I love that. I love how you are loving yourself, loving your life, doing the things that mean a lot to you. I love how you've shared that as you've been in the club, been at the coaching calls. Gloria comes to these calls. I swear, Gloria, you're on every single call. And I love seeing your name here. And I love seeing how, even though I think I've just coached you once, but even though you've only been coached once, I still see the progress just from seeing the comments from you. It's been amazing. Cindy says, hi, Christine. Congratulations. Kimberly says that it's a huge win. Congratulations. I love seeing everybody congratulate each other. And Cindy also says her pastor preached this on the Sunday. I love it. It totally ties into what a pastor would preach to, right? Christine says, I need to stay out of my head with the negative self-talk. And Christine, this is something we're all working on. That's why I got like 2 full days in the challenge. So you are not alone. If you haven't listened to those ones yet, I think it's day 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. Definitely check those out. Those will help. But again, we're always going to have some of that, right? That's that inner mean girl, just like Kimberly was just saying. That inner mean girl is in all of us, but then we just recognize it, right? It's when we observe ourselves. We increase that comeback rate. That's aligning ourselves. We're never going to all of a sudden never have negative self-talk. It's just noticing, oh, wait, that was a negative thought. Do I need to think that? You don't need to believe everything you think, right? And that's what we're working on doing here. Rose says, I love all of these thoughts. Jen said, I think a lot of us are. Yes. Hannah says, as a person with a physical disability, I was very skeptical about day 4, loving your body, but day 4 truly challenged me and changed how I think about my body. I was able to find many things that I love about my physical body. I love this for you, Hannah. I love that so, so much. Hannah's another one of our incredible members who we've seen so much progress with you. She was actually on the podcast. If you listen back to, I think it was episode 120, but you'll find it. It's the episode with Hannah. It's a great one. Be sure to listen to that one. Again, once you finish the self-love challenge, there's also a full library of episodes you can go back and listen your way through. So you can continue to get a little dose of inspiration. Kate says the inner critic is on our shoulders. And this has helped me to stop and think, is this my inner critic or is it true? Oh, Kate, I love that. Love, love, love it. Lisa says to be more positive with this self-talk. Yes. Margaret says this self-love challenge made me connect back with what makes Margaret happy. I love that so much, Margaret. And day 6, for those of you who are listening now, will really especially help you with that. That's where we get really clear, like, what is it you love? What is it that's going to make you happy? And this self-love challenge, I'm so glad, Margaret, that this helped you do that. Vanessa says, I'm working hard on changing my thinking from I'm a bad mom to I made a mistake. I can do better next time. Yes, love this so much. Christina says, I am learning, growing, worthy of love, and my mistakes don't define me. Yes, I love this. We have so many incredible comments here. Um, Cheyenne says, I haven't began since I'm just learning about it, but I did just get my master's in social emotional learning. And I understand how important it is to slow down and take a moment to focus on ourselves, mind and heart. Absolutely, Cheyenne. 100%. And this really ties in a lot with social emotional learning. Really, what we're doing here is social emotional learning for the grown-ups, right? A lot of us are teaching this social emotional learning to the kids, but imagine how much better of a job we would do with teaching it to our kids if we learned and applied how to do this with ourselves. Like, it's powerful. Okay, let's see. Cheyenne, this will go so well with what you just did. Yes, Kate. Yes, absolutely. Margaret says, affirmation, I am enough. I am doing enough. Love this. You're all doing amazing. I love seeing you all cheer on each other. We see like everyone's saying, I love your affirmation. I love what you had to say. I always love seeing everybody supporting each other in the comments. It's so powerful. Rebecca says, I'm so proud of you, Hannah. Great work. Jody says, I am a people pleaser with a difficult time saying no, but I'm working on me now and loving all of me. Love that, Jody. Love it so much. And I think a lot of us here, a lot of us teachers are people pleasers and teachers. And by teacher, I also mean any of you who are homeschool parents here too. I'm a homeschool parent and we do support homeschool parents here as well, or administrators or tutors or whatever you teach. You're welcome here. As you have heard from the challenge, all of this applies to anybody, right? We can all do this. We can all people please and be worried about what other people think. So, yes, this definitely helps with that. Jennifer said it helps to know we are not alone in the negative self talk, but loving having this tool and framework to help with personal growth. Love it, Jennifer. Thank you so much for sharing. Robin says, yes, I need to listen to my own social emotional learning lessons. Don't we all, right? Kimberly said, I found myself saying you get to choose how you feel to my students while reassuring them that I'm there to help them work through their choice. I love this. I love that so much. It's so powerful when we start applying this stuff more naturally. We'll find ourselves just saying it to our kids or our students without even thinking about it. We become more natural at teaching those social emotional learning skills when it's something we are naturally using and applying in our own lives. Georgina said, you ladies couldn't have come into my life at a much needed time. I no longer feel alone. I can't wait to start. Georgine, I'm so excited that you're here on this podcast recording with us. And Robin says, I am working on accepting myself for who I am, not for who others want to be. I am working on taking time for myself. That is amazing. We have such amazing people here in this community, Georgine. I'm just so happy you're joining us because now we get your energy here too. And it's fabulous. The more of us we get here engaging and learning together, it's just incredible. Okay. So this process that we do with everything that we talked about has been really in the challenge. We really focused on observing on days 1 through 5, right? We did the observation practice. We looked at our self-talk. We connected with our body and with our younger self. And then mid-challenge, starting on day 6, we started choosing our direction. We looked at what we love, what we wanted to bring back from our younger self-love that we have started neglecting over the years. We created our ideal week to give ourselves a framework so we aren't starting from scratch at the beginning of each week. And then at the end of the challenge, we added on making sure we continue to align ourselves. We talked about alignment versus balance in day 8, prioritizing our schedule on day 9, setting boundaries on day 10. You'll notice that in each of these, we're still observing, we're still choosing again. We're just continuing to build upon it. And then we want to celebrate our wins along the way and join together with community who has similar goals because they say we are similar to the people we're around. So this is a process that truly builds on each other. It's not just a checklist and it's not like each tool, like the model or processing emotions, falls into one of these categories. Most can be used in multiple ways. Like I said, with the model before, I got ahead of my outline. I said that at the very beginning. So I'm not sure I need to say it again, but like all of these tools can fit. We can use the model to observe our thoughts and then we choose the thoughts we want. And then we continue observing our thoughts, is this thought getting me to where I chose I wanted to go or not, right? To sticking with it. It really helps. Okay. I loved hearing everything you have to share. Keep them coming in the comments. I will keep reading them out. Um, and I've just loved having all of you in this community. And I'm so glad to hear a lot of you got so much from this challenge. And I want you to keep this practice going. I don't want you to give up on self love. I hope that this challenge is just the beginning of a new relationship that you will have for yourself. Like from today on, we're not going to go back to the negative self-talk we're having before. And again, like I said, we will notice it, but we will notice it, right? Instead of it just being there subconsciously, we will notice it and we will redirect and we will choose again. That is what this is all about. So I want you to keep this in practice. I don't want you to give up. So you have two options, and technically, really, you have a lot of options. Like there are so many great self-help books out there. There's a lot of great stuff, but there are two ways that I have to continue supporting you. So the first one, continue staying subscribed to the podcast. Commit to listening each week. It is free. I'm going back to just once a week for the foreseeable future. But there's also a full library of episodes that continue, go back and listen through. With this option, it'll be more do it yourself. You'll find the episode link, you'll listen. I do try to hop into the Unite group and participate in those threads and everything, but my bandwidth to support you on that group is more limited, but it's free. You're going to get so much great support with that. Rebecca, you are now here or to the challenge. Where can I find it? So, the challenge, you can find it on Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast. Kinsey also put the link higher up in the chat, but maybe Kinsey pop it in there again for those who have hopped on, and they can sign up for the challenge if you haven't done it yet. You can start the challenge now, and the podcast will always be there for you whenever you need it. And then another option we have for you, if you're like, I love this, I want to take it to the next level, is we do have a membership called Wife Teacher Mommy Club. It's currently called Wife Teacher Mommy Club. You don't have to be all three of those things. What we found, even like just a couple of days ago, somebody commented, like, I'm not a wife, I'm a single mom, I'm not a wife, so this isn't for me. And I'm like, no, this is for you. It is for everybody. We were thinking about changing it before and then we kept it, but now we've got some other plans this year. So anyways, you don't have to be all three. It's just as long as if this challenge resonated with you, if this call resonated with you, this podcast episode, if you're listening later, the club is a great place for you. It is our signature program where you get access to be coached by me and all of our coaches. I tend to coach once a week in the club is my goal right now. This week, like this call took the place of my coaching, but generally, usually on Thursdays is when I coach, but I change it up too in case Thursdays don't work for some people. And you can come on live with me. We also have other coaches who come in and coach who are incredible as well. If you feel like you learned a lot just from this challenge, like actually seeing coaching coming on and being coached, others being coached is even more powerful because you don't only just learn the tools at a surface level, but you get to see the tools like in action, how they actually are applied. And you can get that personalized support. Honestly, at this point in the club, if you want to be coached, you can be coached. There are calls where I'm like, hey, somebody raise your hand, somebody want to be coached. And then we end up just talking through other things, and that's totally fine. But really, if you want to get personal coaching, like you talk with me, you get coached, it is possible in the club right now. And we have other amazing coaches too, like Chrissy Nichols and Bonnie Wiscombe, who have both been on the podcast. They are amazing. And Francini and Cami, we've got such a great group of coaches. And it is really a great way to join now while we're at the ground level and while you do get so much one-on-one support. It is so many great connections, so many amazing people in the club. You can even see Rose right here. She says, I've loved being part of this community. And we've got a lot of you here are already in there. So I'm preaching to the choir a little bit, but I just wanted to invite anybody who's not part of it yet to join us if they haven't. A few amazing things about the club. We have a coaching library of all our past calls. So it's not just like coming on and getting coached, but you get the full library of all the past calls too. And this is more than just what's on the free podcast, because again, you'll get to hear the actual coaching happening. We don't generally put that on the podcast because it's like people sharing their like what's going on for them. So it's more private. And that is where you'll get to actually listen to that. You can either watch it in your member portal or listen to it on a private podcast feed. So again, just like you do on the public podcast, we have a private one where you'll get a special link that's tied to your subscription, and you'll be able to listen in on the coaching calls whenever you want. And so that makes it really easy and accessible. You'll also get VIP access to both of our Educate and Rejuvenate events, which those by themselves almost pay for the membership because you would pay $19 for general admission ticket to each one, and then another $97 for the Platinum Pass. Like that's what, like $240 just for the event alone. And you get into those with all the VIP access for free, plus member bonus days and bonus content that even those who upgrade their ticket don't get. And there's a platinum pass that has like hundreds of dollars worth of resources in each of those. You get all these perks, not to mention everything else you get in the club. And then the final thing is the final major thing. And there's just three major points I want to go over. There's a lot of other small stuff too. But the other big thing is that you get access to our incredible resource library. So if you're on the monthly plan, you get 20 downloads per month. That's under $2 for each full-size resource. And if you go for the annual plan, if you swing for that, you get like automatic, unlimited access to all of them. We have over 1,200 resources to choose from for pre-K through sixth grades in the club. Now, some people are like, oh, I teach middle school or I teach high school. I guess they can't join. I would say no to that because the coaching alone, if you find value in the coaching alone is worth that cost. And honestly, I feel like that is the true value of this membership is the community, the coaching and support. The resources are a bonus that help you make the time for that support. But even if you teach secondary, there might be a few things like the planner or the sub binder that would still be beneficial and helpful to you as well. We also have giveaways, the incredible community, swag, and extra perks you get once you've been in the club for a year. Most coaching memberships with coaches who are certified through the Life Coach School, like me and all the other coaches in the program, cost anywhere between $50 to $300 per month. And we are so much less than that. In fact, we will probably end up increasing our price for new members at some point later as we slowly work our way up to the minimum price of most life coaching memberships. I don't see us really going above that 50, but again, once you join us, you lock in the pricing that you get when you join. So you'll need to go to wifeteachermommy.com/club whenever you're listening to this podcast to see the current pricing at the time that you are listening to this episode. Feel free to email us. If you join on the annual plan, we'll make sure we'll take care of you. If you join, and again, if you're like, oh, I'm already a member, but I'm on the monthly plan or whatever, if you want to upgrade to annual, just email us at hello@wifeteachermommy.com and we'll take care of you. If you want to see more about member experiences, they are on the page. But the monthly is a great way to try it out. If you're like, I really want to try this, I can't do the full thing right now, it's a great way to do it as well. There's no wrong way. But I will say committing to this process for a full year, and I don't mean you have to come to every single call. I just mean like listening on the podcast when you can, trying to attend a call a month, attending the Educate and Rejuvenate events. If you give this process some time, you will see a transformation over the next year. And honestly, if you do it, if you apply it, I guarantee you will see that because it's not because of me. Like I said, it's because these tools, they work. They are backed in so much research as I've learned from doing this book. So much research. When this book comes out, it'll blow your mind how much research is behind all this work and why it works so well. And in this club is where you really get that personalized support with it. Jody says, I've been in therapy for years and I've learned so much more here. I love that, Jody. I'm so glad that you've learned so much by being here. And again, it's just because these tools work. They're just and I'm just so passionate about them. And so is Chrissy and all the other coaches who are here in the club. We just love supporting you with it. Jen said it did Educate and Rejuvenate this summer, and it was so good. Jen, we love Educate and Rejuvenate. It's one of the best things about the club. And the awesome thing is we're now even just making Educate and Rejuvenate better, and we'll be launching the event again next month. And those who are in the club, get in. You don't have to buy a ticket. You don't have to upgrade to platinum. You already get all the perks and more for both Educate and Rejuvenate events this year. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited. Kimberly says, just knowing I can turn to my club community whenever I want, need, and am able to is such a blessing. Kimberly, you all melt my heart. Melissa says she agrees wholeheartedly. You're all so amazing. I love it. You are all so wonderful. So appreciate all of you being here. But I have just loved doing this challenge with you, and I would be honored to continue supporting you as your life coach. So if you enjoyed this challenge, I challenge you to take just a few minutes to go to the page and check it out and learn more about the club. Watch the videos on the page, see what other people have experienced. And if you're live in the studio with me right now, you can click the green button and check it out if you're not already a member. And if you're listening on the podcast or watching on YouTube, click the link in the description to check it out and learn more. It is the perfect gift of self-love to yourself. All the tools that you need to support yourself so you can both be an educator and rejuvenate yourself at a soul level, not just for a 14-day challenge, but all year long. I'll be here redirecting you, coaching you, helping you, supporting you. And so will our fellow coaches and the friends and connections you will make with our community. So I hope to see you on our next call inside Wife Teacher Mommy Club. But either way, I will continue being right here with you on Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast. Thank you for participating in our self-love challenge. For the complete challenge experience, make sure to go to wifeteachermommy.com/self-love challenge to get the scorecard and a daily email with each of the journal prompts for free. And if you're enjoying this challenge, please consider sharing the love by sharing that same link, wifeteachermommy.com/self-love challenge, with a teacher friend or a homeschool friend or all of the people you know who might be interested in this free resource. We have a mission to help as many educators as possible, whether they teach children in a classroom or in their living rooms, to not only survive as an educator, but to thrive in teaching and life. This challenge has been brought to you by Wife Teacher Mommy Club, my signature coaching program created especially for teachers and homeschool parents. Inside the club, you can join us for weekly live coaching with me and fellow club coaches, VIP access to our summer and winter Educate and Rejuvenate conferences, a library of resources to save you time, and even a private podcast feed where you'll get to listen to every single coaching call we've ever done, all the Educate and Rejuvenate sessions, and so much more. If you love this challenge, why not spend just a few minutes checking it out and seeing if it's right for you? It may just be the ultimate gift of self-love that you could give yourself, because it'll help you take what you've learned in this challenge from the 2x level to the 10x level. So go to wifeteachermommy.com/club to learn more. I would love to see you there, but either way, I will keep seeing you right here on Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast.